Welcome to class. So recall that we learned in previous classes that the early history of money suggests that some types of commodities, including non-metal objects as well as metal objects, served as money. Okay? Today, the name of money in China, renminbi, actually suggests this link to the history of money. Today, money that you know about is mostly paper, but if you look at the name bi as in renminbi, it actually means money, currency, and coins. And you can see here that there's this link that B actually is related to silk, cloth, and money, currency. Okay? There's actually two types of commodities that this is linked to. The first is silk cloth, and the second is seashells. I'll first walk you through silk cloth. Silk, you know, had an important social function in China, and it was invented in Henan province about 6,000 to 8,500 years ago. The economic importance of silk is also, of course, reflected in the representations of wealth in China today. This thing you might have heard or seen, right? This is the Yuan Bao, that is also called Chinese Sai Si in Cantonese, which means silk, and in standard Mandarin is called Xi Si, if I pronounced it correctly. So you look at this and you feel it has nothing to do with silk, but actually it is indicating silk being an important, if you like, commodity in economics. This is the first link. So silk was traded on the Silk Road, but it was not really used as a medium of exchange. So therefore we cannot really say that silk was money. Okay, it was not a medium of exchange, which is one of the functions of money, which we learned about in previous classes. There's more historical evidence of the second type of commodity, that is cowrie shells. Okay, not silk, but cowrie shells, seashells. That is another non-metal commodity that circulated widely as a medium of exchange. Okay, so if we go to seashells, you can see here the name for the Chinese currency, the character bi, is related to huobi currency, that is partly silk cloth, but actually if you go to the radical, it is from beike, which is seashell. And okay, if you see that this commonly found compound word, huobi, is referring to coin. Okay, the first character, huo, means money, product, or commodity. And you can see that this part and this part, they are the same, so that the radical is represented there. The etymology, that is the history of the word, bei, over the Han Dynasty, the Warring States, the Western Zhou, and the Shang Dynasty confirms this, that this bei appears in the Chinese words related to economics and trade, including today. Okay? This is a seashell. It's actually so much used as money that the scientific name is called monetaria moneta, literally money, money. Okay? If you look at the words for sell, that is mai or buy, mai, or the nouns for example, treasure, bao, goods, huo, wealth, cai, poverty, pin, tribute, gong, store, zhu, and so on, you can see that there's this link of the money today, renminbi, to one commodity, silk, in the yuanbao represented, but also to the seashell that actually was and used to be traded, not just for its own sake, but also as a medium of exchange. Okay? Now, today, most of the money in China, and not just in China, but around the world, is actually not made out of any material that is intrinsically useful. Okay? Here, you can see a coin, and this is the Tongbei. It's a bronze coin in the form of the seashell. Okay? This thing was not made out of non-metal, but made out of metal, bronze, but it was not a medium of exchange. Okay? The three functions of money are medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. And it was not used as a medium of exchange, so therefore it cannot be money. Okay? So in that sense, coins were invented, coins as money were invented in Lydia, modern-day Turkey, 600 BCE. Maybe the shape was already existing previously in China, but coin money, by most agreement of historians, was invented in Turkey. Okay, so if we look at a second invention, we have coins today, right? Coins today are not made even out of bronze, they're made out of even less base metal. Okay, so they're actually token coins in the sense that here I have these seashells. Okay? They might be intrinsically useful because you could wear them. They might be beautiful and people still collect them for their own sake, not because of, for example, wanting to use it as money. Okay? Today, our money does not have any intrinsic value. Okay? Paper notes, banknotes, are also not made out of any intrinsically useful material. Okay? And while coins money was not invented in China, the second type of money that is available today, paper notes, paper money, was invented in China. And we're going to look at this in a second. Okay? So what we mean by token is the face value that is on the face of the coin or the paper note of paper cash or coins today are much higher. Let's say a 10 RMB note, that face value is much higher than the resale value of the paper on which the notes are printed, or the base metal out of which the token coins today are made. That means today the money items, we can call them tokens. Okay? Tokens meaning that they are not made out of commodity that has intrinsic value, for example, base metal like copper, iron, or precious metal, silver, gold. Okay? Today, money is mostly tokens. Okay? Next, we go to the contribution of China in terms of financial technology and innovation. China invented paper money. Okay? So what we're doing now is, when we looked at these things here, this is what we call commodity money. You can see at the back there's also some gold, right? So gold has intrinsic value, this has intrinsic value. It means, one way to think about this, imagine you're on an island by yourself. Would you be happy to treat this as trash or keep it? If you think it's beautiful or it has use value, for example, gold can be done, can be as an input into industrial production like semiconductors, veneers, okay, for medical purposes, aerospace industry and so on. You might have a hard time being a space engineer or aerospace engineer by yourself on an island, but this is called commodity because you have a use value to yourself. You don't just keep it because you think somebody else will give you something in exchange. Okay? This is called commodity money. Now, when we talk about paper money, okay, today, coin money is token money, no intrinsic value. Paper money makes this very obvious. Paper money is not commodity money, okay, because the face value is much higher than the intrinsic value out of which the paper is printed on. Okay? So now we do a quick review of what we call credit money. Paper money is a form of credit money. Okay? Paper is not a commodity unless in large quantities. Okay? So now that's what we're going to look at now. So we look at the transformation of commodity money from representative money to eventually pure credit money in the form of what we have today, token coins, and especially here now, paper money. Here, these tokens and paper money were invented by the Chinese, and it is a form of not commodity money, but credit. Okay? There's actually economic theory behind this that is called the credit theory of money. Okay? The credit theory of money says money is credit, but not all credit is money. Okay? So you can borrow money from the bank. That might be money, but if a friend lends you a bicycle, that bicycle or the financial asset doesn't become money. Okay? So credit theory of money suggests that some credit is money. Okay? And paper money is a type of credit money. So we move from commodity money to credit money. Okay? The credit theory of money says that only a special type of transferable credit, this credit you can transfer, that is a general medium of exchange and allows you to use this credit as a method to pay and meet financial obligations. For example, you need to pay taxes, or somebody asks you to pay them, if you can use this credit, you can think that that credit might be money. Okay? The credit theory of money suggests that money does not have to be made out of any intrinsically useful material. Okay? So paper money, the face value is high, the material out of which it is made is practically zero for all intents and purposes. Okay? Coins today are made out of not silver, not gold, but they are made out of material with intrinsic value that is very insignificant relative to the face value. Okay? So that's why we call it token coins. This here is token money, but not in the form of coins, but in forms of paper. Okay? So token coins, as we are moving to paper money, this will give you the reason why China invented paper money. Okay? Before token coins existed in China, you'd have coins that were very heavy to carry around. And if you have a big country where you have a lot of trade, maybe it's dangerous or maybe inefficient or bothersome to carry very heavy, for example, iron or copper coins, where the intrinsic value is high, but at the expense of a lot of weight. Okay? So in China, they had these full-bodied precious metal coins or base metal coins. Okay? And China moved to invent paper money as follows. Coins today are token money, which is a form of credit money. Paper money is also credit money. And this emergence of credit money means there's an abstraction of the individual unit of money and the objects from commodity material, and is made abstract. Right? The value is not in the material itself. And this is taken one big step further by this invention of paper money. So Chinese invented paper money in two steps. Okay? In the first step, in the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century, China had something called fei qian, that is flying money, if you want to translate it. And the reason for this is a trader or merchant on business travel, for example, trading tea, instead of carrying these heavy coins, could give these heavy coins made out of, for example, copper or iron, to a so-called money house. Okay? Think it is a forerunner, a very early version of maybe what later might become a bank. Okay? So this house, in turn, takes the heavy coins and then issues the trader a piece of paper, saying that this piece of paper represents the coins that they have deposited, and the money house has different branches in parts of China. So what you can do is you can go to another location, and then at that other location, the money house, when you present a piece of paper, it will give the original owner the coins, maybe not exactly the same, but the same value of coins back. Okay? On this piece of paper, the name of the person who deposited it is written down. Okay? So flying money, this first step, okay, emerged because traders did not want to carry these heavy copper coins with them, or, for example, on the way, be subject to robberies or any threat. Okay? However, although it is called flying money, qian, it is actually not money proper. Why? These papers, the first version is called promissory note. Promissory from promise. They are, in effect, an NFT, not the NFT that you might have seen in the internet, but literally they are non-fungible tokens. Token, piece of paper, okay? No intrinsic value. Non-fungible means that if I have this piece of paper with my name on it, and you take it from me, you cannot get the coins because the money house will check that you and the signature is the same person. Okay? So in that sense, it's not fungible. You cannot just interchange it with other people and still be as well off as before. Okay? So it is a token, but it's an NFT because they were only redeemable by the specific person who deposited the coins at the money house because the name was written on it. So flying money, therefore, was not a general medium of exchange. Okay? Only a medium of exchange for one singular atomistic, like a one-off exchange. Okay, after the exchange is completed, let's say I go to the money house, get copper coins back. The money, if you wish, stop flying. Okay, but it's actually not money in that sense. Okay, the second step, this is when actually paper money was invented proper, occurred in the Song Dynasty towards, well, in the middle of the Song Dynasty, and this is called jiaozi. Okay, not the, if you pronounce it wrong, as the dumpling. Okay, it's different pronunciation. Initially, these jiaozi notes were an initiative by a merchant company. Okay, there's like a business initiative wanting to replace heavy iron coins with promissory notes. Sounds almost similar, okay, but what they did is, this was a market initiative and an innovation by the private sector. It did not work because without state support or government regulation, when money houses in the private hands would create like a small banking system, it is very likely there will be abuse, financial misconduct, and so on. So eventually the privately issued jiaozi system, that's called the jiaozi, was adopted by the state in 2 stages. Okay, so what you're trying to do is you have several money houses and they're trying to remove the name from the promissory note so that it doesn't matter whose name is on it. You can just give it to a friend as a method of payment. The problem here is, without supervision, is the money house, they might start to take or use the coins that you have deposited for the time when you're not taking it out. So it is highly likely that it might not work for a long time. And in China, actually, this system became money after the state adopted it. Okay? And it adopted it in 2 stages. First stage is the state gave monopoly right to issue these certificates of deposits, now they're called certificate of deposits, to 16 deposit shops like money houses. In 1023, today is about literally 1,000 years ago, okay, the Chengdu government, Sichuan, took control of this emergent banking system in a second step, which marked the beginning of the state monopoly, that is, state monopoly over the issuance of paper money. So who can issue paper money proper without being promissory note is actually only the state can do it. Because if private sector can do it, it might be highly likely it will lead to bank runs, financial crises, and so on. Okay? These became money proper for 3 reasons. Okay? First, they were transferable between people. Okay? These papers were transferable between people. And they started to become a general medium of exchange. Promissory notes can't. And second, they were able to be used as long-term stores of value once the notes' expiry dates were removed in 2040, 200 years later. Okay, so no more expiry notes. So it's actually like today, your money today doesn't have an expiry note. Okay. Second, they were a form of representative money. Representative money is credit money. Why it's called representative money? Because they were freely convertible or redeemable into a commodity. So this piece of paper represents, for example, a copper coin that is at the money house. But in addition, because it was adopted by the state, it was actually backed by what they call benqian or beijin. That is the backing of this paper money with underlying bronze coins. So the government is actually supporting bronze coins or silver coins, is actually supporting this paper money system so that most of the time there will be, I think the number is around 30% of all the notes floating around, 30% are backed by, or they're backed to the extent of 30% by some commodity standard. This partly supports faith and belief and trust in this system, okay? So that these paper notes are trusted to be valuable. Okay. In addition, these paper notes, this jiaozi, could also be exchanged for liquor, okay, alcohol, and salt. Salt is very precious at that time, 800 years ago, at government-operated stores. Which means when you have not private sector, but government-operated stores which promise you that this piece of paper, if somebody else doesn't want to accept it, you can go to government-operated stores and convert it to liquor or salt, which means this supports your faith and your trust in this currency, although it is a piece of paper. Piece of paper not made out of gold, not made out of seashells, right? The general acceptance of these paper notes, okay, although they were made effectively out of something with zero intrinsic value, it was supported by having this exchange value to copper, silver, or liquor or salt. Okay. Third and final reason why the jiaozi became money is the circulation of these notes initially was restricted to Sichuan province only. Right? For money to work, it must circulate widely. So, for example, if you have US dollar, and US dollar you can only use it in Florida or Miami, and if you go to Texas, they say no, the US dollar will not be money. Okay, so you want to have a wide circulation. Initially, these jiaozi were only in Sichuan province, but in the southern Song dynasty, they actually had 4 currency regions with different currencies, with each their own paper money and bronze and iron coins. However, later, there's a development of the jiaozi into something called the huizi, notes that actually became a nationally unified currency, a generally accepted mean of exchange and a store of value throughout most of China. Okay? So that is the reason why these jiaozi then developing into huizi actually can be said to be not just paper, but paper money. So when Marco Polo visited China, he was actually startled and surprised by this Chinese invention of paper money. He actually dedicated a chapter to it in his book called, quote, How the Great Khan Causes the Bark of Trees, aka paper, to pass for money all over his country. And here I quote, and you can see here, all these pieces of paper are issued with as much solemnity and authority as if they were out of pure gold and silver. So he might be used to commodity money, but it's actually credit money. With these pieces of paper, he, that is the emperor, makes them to pass current currency, circulating widely, universally, wherever his power and sovereignty extends. And indeed, everybody takes them readily and shall be able to transact all sales and purchases of goods by means of them, just as well as if they were coins of pure gold. Okay, so up until now, we trace the abstraction of money from commodities, for example, seashells, gold, okay, to credit money. Okay, this is the first step of removing the link between money and commodities. Okay, by making the money object, that is, for example, a renminbi or a dollar, for example, paper or a plastic coin, made out of material that is actually not intrinsically valuable. Okay. However, there's a second step to actually go to the place that we are today. Okay. Before the current system we have now, in the past, money still had an anchor to a commodity, not a dollar or a renminbi, but the promise of the issuer to convert it or redeem it into the underlying commodity it represents. For example, paper money still had the link to commodity. Salt, liquor, silver, copper, etc. Okay? So what we can do is, what is today, right? Today, we have not just a pound or a renminbi, a dollar, that is the individual money object, being not linked to a commodity or made out of a commodity. What we can also try to do is, this is what we have today, we can have the general universal unit of the pound, the renminbi, the dollar, not have any link explicit to any commodity whatsoever. Okay? Today, your money in virtually all countries, there's no promise to convert it into salt, let alone liquor or anything. Okay? This second step of not just a dollar or being a piece of paper, but the whole dollar system being completely disconnected with commodity actually occurred in the last century, in the 20th century. Okay, most countries abandoned what we call the commodity standard. And this culminated in what we call the Nixon shock, President Nixon, and the collapse of what we call the Bretton Woods system, where basically many countries in the world were somehow still linked to a commodity via conversion to US dollar and US dollar to gold. Okay? But today, there's no link in virtually all countries. Okay? So in this standard today, okay, we went from commodity standards, what we call a fiat money standard. Okay? Today, money is not anchored to any commodity by the issuer of the money. No liquor, no salt, no gold, silver, and so on. Instead, the exchange value of money that you have today is determined by an interaction that is very complex between economic policy, economic activity, including international trade and national trade. Okay? That, for example, how much your money can buy, the purchasing power, depends on all kinds of things. Inflation, deflation, how much your money can buy abroad, the exchange rate. In most countries, the exchange rate goes up and down. Okay? Today, we're on a fiat standard where how this system interacts is actually very complex. Okay? What we have traced now is we went from commodity money to credit money, and one form of credit money is called representative money. It is a credit because when you take your piece of paper to the money house, they promise, and you find hopefully that their promise is credible, believable, that you get something back, okay, the underlying commodity. Today, we have credit money that is not representative money because the dollar, the euro, the Deutschmark, or whatever, even the renminbi, does not represent a promise by the issuer to convert the renminbi, the dollar, to anything. Of course, you can exchange it to buy milk tea, apples, other things, but the issuer does not make this promise. So today, money is credit money, but not representative money. Today, money is a form of credit money, which we call pure fiat money. Okay? So today, the things that you have as money are paper money, this token, it's a token. You have coins as also a token. However, most of the money today is actually not paper money, which we know now where it comes from, and not coins, but is bank account money. Okay? So what we have traced is how fiat money emerged over the ages. Okay? Today, most of the money is not currency, that is cash currency, coins, paper notes. You can see here there's something called M1, M2. This is for the United States, but it's actually representative of many countries in the world. And you can see the blue line is actually much larger than, for example, the purple one. So most of the money today in circulation in many economies, not just the United States, in the European Union, in China, in all kinds of countries, is not paper notes, let alone coins. Right? You know this because China is very advanced in terms of digital money that is effectively just your bank account money wrapped in an app that you access, Alipay, WeChat Pay, or any other. Okay. Here's some statistics from UK, another country. You have coins and notes that represent 3% of money in circulation. There is something called central bank reserves. This is like banks having money with the central bank, and then bank deposits. Okay, most of the money today is bank deposits. Okay. In China, we have the financial innovation, right? We learned about China was inventing paper money, right? Which is abstracting money away from commodities. Okay. In China, you have the so-called e-CNY. What is that? Okay. The e-CNY is digital, like a bank account money. Second, it is not created by a commercial bank, but by the central bank. So when you have money in your bank account, you have it at any kind of commercial bank, but not the central bank. Okay? If I open the app, it is described officially as e-CNY is a digital version of fiat currency issued by the PBC, People's Bank of China, Zhongguo Renmin Yinhang, okay, not ICBC, HSBC, or whatever. Okay, it has legal tender status and is quasi-account-based. Okay, here I highlight account-based hybrid payment instrument. What I want to highlight is account-based. So the e-CNY, like your bank account money, is digital and account-based. Okay? This is different because it is issued by the central bank, not by private commercial banks. Okay? Partly you could explain China being very advanced in terms of this, what you call CBDC, central bank digital currency, because the adoption of digital money is very high in China, which means the amount of physical cash, paper notes, coins, that is issued also directly or indirectly via the state, via the PBC, that is becoming less and less significant. If you have an economy where most of the money is accessed via Alipay, WeChat Pay, via banks, the state, right, and the government, the managers of the economy, it's not that they lose control, but actually it might be very risky to have all the money being predominantly created by commercial banks. Right? So how is this linked? So just remember the invention of paper money in China. Right? So in general, as a trend, the exceptions prove the rule. A lot of times state either adoption or creation of any type of money, maybe the private sector first invents some innovation and then the state regulates it, adopts it, etc. Or the other way around, the state is leading, okay, rather than adopting it, right, is a general trend, not just in China, in many countries. Okay, so you can see this here. It is actually not a deviation from the historical trend. Not just in China, but in many countries, state and government involvement in money, financial sector, banking is very common because it's very risky. Okay, most of you are maybe too young to have experienced 2007, 2008 financial crisis or the 1997-8 Asian financial crisis. There's a lot of things that if you let the financial sector do its own thing without government regulation, it might break down. Okay, of course, the regulation sometimes can be inappropriate or too late, overbearing. So there probably needs to be a nice balance. Why do I highlight account? Okay, paper money is a token, right? You can have an imaginary account, let's say your pocket. You say, how much money do I have? And you look in your pocket. But that's different from an account. Account is like somebody is the account manager, like the bank. Okay? This is an account-based payment instruments, but it is called quasi-account-based, not a direct account-based, because you do not have an account with the PBOC. You effectively have it by commercial banks, not the central bank. Okay? You can think about this as M0, that is money for retail users or Laobaoxing, like ordinary folks, that is digital. M0, okay, where does this come from? M, just money. 0 or 1 is the level above or at the central bank. So M0 means money created by level 0, which is the central bank. M1 is money created by commercial banks or above. Paper notes, coins, M0, created by the central bank. Commercial bank money, M1. e-CNY, M0. Why? Central bank creates it. What is the novel thing? It is digital. Okay. It is digital and not physical. How does this fit in? Okay. Here, and we have seen it, most of the money today is this M1. Okay. Here we have M0. There is cash money tokens, physical, and central bank account money, that is banks' money at the central bank. You don't have access to this unless you are the CEO of a commercial bank, but not you personally, your institution. How does e-CNY fit in? Okay, it basically expands M0 to make this here available to the general public. Okay, so you have access to M0 money from the central bank, sovereign money created by the state, that is digital, but not by commercial banks. Okay. This here, this token is physical. This is an account-based digital money. You can think about this as e-CNY. Okay? So what we have done today in this class, we traced the history of money from commodity money over to credit money, both representative money as well as pure fiat money, and we arrived at the type of money we have today. Okay? From this we learn that money has evolved, has changed, and it will keep changing. Because we've seen, for example, with the invention of paper money, that the complex interaction between international trade, technology, the needs of, for example, the economy, all interact, that the type of money will keep changing. Okay? We see this today with the e-CNY. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we've seen this with the rise of digital apps that allow you to use your bank account money. Besides the e-CNY, another thing that is on the horizon is what we call cryptocurrency or blockchain. Okay? CBDC, for example, in the form of e-CNY, is what we call an account-based central bank digital currency. However, blockchain potentially allows you to create token money that is digital. Okay, let me just repeat that. Most of digital money today is in accounts, right? In the central bank reserves, in the commercial bank, they're your bank account money, or e-CNY indirectly at the central bank via commercial banks. Digital and account-based. Okay. The tokens today, money, cash, is physical and not account-based. Okay. So what blockchain is attempting to do as a technology is trying to create token money that is digital. Okay. What blockchain is attempting is to create token money that is digital. Tokens that are digital. The problem with something that is digital and a token, you can just copy and paste it and recreate it. You can press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, just copy and paste. If it is digital and an account at the central bank or commercial bank, the commercial bank or the central bank will make sure you cannot do something illegal. If it is digital and a token, you have a problem, you can just copy and paste it. Okay? So blockchain, what it's trying to do is, blockchain is using blockchain as a data structure, as a type of way to structure data, and blockchain as a consensus mechanism that we will go on in future classes, to try to attempt to make a token that is digital. Okay? We will learn about this in the next classes. Just to wrap up today, and to hint at some future topics, you know that there's this thing called Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrencies. Okay? Many of these private digital tokens, they are not money, at least not money yet. Why? They are not a generally accepted medium of exchange. You cannot go to Family Mart and pay with Bitcoin. Second, they are not a store of value that is stable. The price goes up, goes down, up, go down. It might be an investment vehicle, but it is very risky. So in that sense, it might be a digital token, but most of the private cryptocurrencies are not money. Yet, maybe in the future there might be. However, what we learned from today's class is, this is like the general point is, money and the state are often intertwined and interlinked. Okay? The one prediction would be, if you ask, can privately created digital tokens maintained via a blockchain become money? Okay? If we look at history, the answer might be, the likelihood might be very small. Because the risk associated with privately created money is instability, fraud, Ponzi schemes, all kinds of things. And if you've been reading the news, you've heard of one of the biggest US bankruptcies or frauds like FTX, and all kinds of other, not just hacks, but also collapses of all kinds of private companies, like especially crypto exchanges that went under this year in 2023. This idea would lead us to suggest that it is highly unlikely that these private digital tokens become money by themselves. If a state decides to adopt it, blockchain technology, a private digitally created token, it might become money, but on its own, there's huge amount of question marks. Just to wrap up, today we have looked at the history of money and we have retraced the history how we arrived at today. However, we also looked at the new innovations, e-CNY, and we hinted at you could make e-CNY blockchain-based, you could make e-CNY a token. Not account-based, you could make it a token. That blockchain, however, will be regulated by the state, by the government, and it will not be unregulated, because if we learn from history, it needs to be regulated. So blockchain applied to money in China might show up as e-CNY being token-based, but it probably is unlikely that private digital tokens, for example, Bitcoin, will become money in many countries, not just in China, but in many countries. That's all. So thank you very much. See you next week. Thank you. Thank you.